Something is quietly shifting inside the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and the people running it are hoping the world does not notice. The tournament is hours away from its opening match. The stadiums are ready, the players have arrived, the cameras are pointed. And yet, behind the scenes, beneath the surface of all that excitement and spectacle, a power struggle is underway that nobody openly wants to name, because the question being whispered through football's corridors right now is one that strikes at the very foundation of this tournament. Is the United States actually in control of its own World Cup? And the more you look at what is happening today, right now, on the eve of the opening match, the harder that question becomes to answer. Teams are being detained at airports, players are having their phones confiscated, a FIFA-appointed referee has been sent home from the country meant to host him, Iran is sleeping across a border, and the most powerful man in America is sitting in the Oval Office telling the world that he can pick up the phone to Gianni Infantino and move World Cup matches wherever he likes, any city, any time, at his word. Stay with us, because this story, the real story behind the 2026 FIFA World Cup, is only now beginning to reveal itself, and what is coming next will shock you. If you are watching this for the first time and you want to stay ahead of every major development at this World Cup, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell, because the stories we're about to tell you are the ones the official coverage is not stopping to explain. Every revelation, every twist, every moment that truly matters, we are right here covering all of it. Let us begin with a man whose journey to this tournament tells you everything you need to know about the state of this World Cup right now. His name is Ayman Hussein. He is 30 years old. He is Iraq's greatest striker. And on the 31st of March 2026, with a single goal against Bolivia in the final minute of the Intercontinental Playoff, he sends Iraq to their first FIFA World Cup in 40 years. 40 years. An entire generation of Iraqi football fans, people who had never in their adult lives seen their country at a World Cup, erupting in joy across a nation that has endured more than most. Ayman Hussein scores that goal. Ayman Hussein carries that dream. And then, on the 7th of June 2026, the Iraqi national team lands at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. They are here. They are ready. 40 years of waiting is over, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents separate Ayman Hussein from the rest of his squad, take him to a separate room, and question him for 7 hours. 7 hours. His phone is taken and examined. No explanation is publicly given. After nearly a full working day of interrogation, he is finally allowed to enter the country. But the team's official photographer, Talal Salah, is not so fortunate. He is determined to be inadmissible and is sent back to Iraq, denied entry with no detailed reason offered, his accreditation meaningless, his journey over before the tournament begins. Think about what that means for a moment. The man whose goal qualified Iraq for this World Cup, the most important player in his nation's squad, arrives at an American airport and is treated, in the words of one observer who watched the story break, like a suspect rather than an athlete. And the person whose job it was to photograph Iraq's historic first World Cup in 4 decades is put back on a plane home. But here is what makes this even more extraordinary. Iraq is not alone. Not even close. Right now, national teams from Iran, Senegal, and Uzbekistan have all encountered serious entry complications at American borders. Just days before the opening match, players, officials, and staff from multiple competing nations have been subjected to interrogations, intensive security screenings involving police dogs, and in several cases, outright visa denials. A FIFA-appointed referee from Somalia, selected from the entire world to officiate at the greatest football tournament on earth, is turned away at Miami Airport after 11 hours of questioning and placed on a plane back to Istanbul. His phone, like Hussein's, reportedly examined, his place at the tournament gone. And Iran's situation remains without question the most surreal hosting arrangement in the history of this sport. Iran's players are based in Tijuana, Mexico. They cross into the United States on match days and must leave the same evening. Key members of their coaching and administrative staff have been denied entry entirely. Their federation president, one of the most senior football officials in all of Asia, was refused a visa to attend even the tournament draw in Washington months ago. Iran boycotted that draw in protest, and now, as their group stage begins, their players are commuting across an international border to compete in their own World Cup. Iran's federation had earlier negotiated with FIFA to move their matches, all three scheduled in American soil in Los Angeles and Seattle, to co-host Mexico instead. FIFA said no. The matches would proceed as planned. And yet, the players cannot stay overnight, the staff cannot all enter, and the federation president cannot even attend.
This is the most inclusive World Cup in history. That is what FIFA told the world. This is what inclusive looks like in practice. Now here is where the story takes a turn that even seasoned football observers have not fully processed. Because alongside all of this, the detentions, the visa denials, the Iranian team sleeping in Tijuana, there is another threat hanging over this tournament, one that has been building for months, one that involves not a foreign government, but the host nation's own president. Donald Trump has, on multiple occasions and in unmistakably direct language, threatened to have World Cup matches moved away from American cities he disapproves of. He targets Seattle, whose newly elected mayor he calls a liberal communist. He targets Boston, whose Democratic mayor he describes as radical left. He targets San Francisco. He tells reporters sitting in the Oval Office with Gianni Infantino beside him that if he feels there is a safety problem in any of these cities, he will simply call Gianni, and Gianni will move it. He wouldn't love to do it, but he would do it very easily. These are not private conversations. These are public statements made in the White House directed at the cities hosting this tournament. And what makes them so remarkable is not only that a sitting president is threatening to politically weaponize an international football competition, but that FIFA's own president is sitting in the room when he says it and does not contradict him. Gianni Infantino has cultivated one of the most publicly visible relationships between a football administrator and a world leader in the history of the sport. He stands beside Trump at press conferences. He attends White House task force meetings. He appears alongside him at summits in the Middle East. He calls him fantastic and phenomenal. And when a reporter asks whether Trump could actually move matches, Infantino does not clearly rule it out. FIFA Vice President Victor Montagliani does push back, and his words deserve to be heard. With all due respect to current world leaders, Montagliani says, football is bigger than them, and football will survive their regime and their government and their slogans. Those are the words of a man who understands what this sport is supposed to stand for. But they were not the words of the FIFA president. And it is the FIFA president's relationship with the White House that has defined and complicated this entire tournament. And here is where the picture becomes even more complicated, and this is the part of the story that almost nobody is connecting together clearly right now, so stay with us. Trump's threats to relocate matches are focused on American cities, on Democratic mayors, on what he describes as crime and safety concerns. But the real relocation pressure, the kind driven by genuine safety fears and geopolitical reality, is coming from somewhere else entirely. It is coming from the teams themselves, from Iran, who wanted their matches moved to Mexico, from the countries whose fans cannot attend games in the United States at all because of travel bans, and who are asking whether their supporters might be able to watch their teams play in Toronto or Vancouver instead. Because Canada is beginning to look to many people watching this unfold like the most stable, the most welcoming, and the most straightforward part of this entire three-nation tournament. No travel bans affecting competing nations, no detained players at airports, no Oval Office threats about moving matches, no protests blocking the road to the stadium. Just two cities, Toronto and Vancouver, quietly, efficiently, and without drama, preparing to host the world. And this is not lost on the football community. The question being asked in quiet corners of this tournament, among journalists and federation officials and people who care deeply about where this sport is heading, is a simple one. If you were designing this World Cup from scratch, if you were choosing which of these three host nations is making football feel most like football right now, which one would you choose? If you're finding this coverage valuable and you want to keep following every development as this tournament unfolds, subscribe now. We're going to be here for every match, every controversy, every story that shapes how this World Cup is remembered. Hit the button, turn on notifications. This is only the beginning. Because the tension inside this tournament is not just about who wins the trophy. It's about something far more fundamental. It's about the question of whether the world's most beloved sporting event can survive being pulled simultaneously in so many different political directions at once. FIFA has an answer for everything. It issues statements, it holds press conferences, it talks about safety being the top priority. It says it's in regular contact with all participating nations. It says matches will proceed as scheduled. It says the FIFA pass is working. It says things are under control. But right now, today, on the day before the opening match, a World Cup striker is shaken after 7 hours of airport interrogation. A team photographer is on a flight home. A Somali referee is watching the tournament from Istanbul. An Iranian squad is in Tijuana. Moroccan fans are at home. Thousands of seats in American stadiums remain unsold. Hotels are underbooked. The attorneys general of New York and New Jersey are investigating FIFA's ticketing practices. And the President of the United States is publicly reminding everyone that with one phone call, he can reshape this tournament's geography. This is not the script FIFA wrote. This is not the World Cup Infantino promised when he stood in front of cameras and called it 1,000 years of World Cups at once. This is something messier, something harder, something that the organization's carefully managed public image cannot fully contain. And yet, the football is real. The players are here. Ayman Hussein, despite everything, is here. Iran's squad, despite everything, is here. The Azteca is ready. The grass is green. The ball is round. And when the opening match kicks off tomorrow, the roar of the crowd will be genuine because football, no matter what surrounds it, has a way of asserting its own power. But the story behind this tournament, the story of who gets to attend it, who gets to officiate it, who gets to play in it without being treated like a suspect, that story is not going away. It will travel with this competition from city to city, from match to match, all the way to the final in New Jersey on the 19th of July. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is not just a football tournament, it is a test of FIFA's ability to keep its promises, a test of whether sport can remain above the politics that surrounds it, a test of whether a tournament that calls itself the most inclusive in history can actually deliver on that word. The world is watching, the players are ready, the pressure is real, and the answers, the real ones, are coming.